Greetings, students. Here comes our next exciting art project using simple art tools from home. This one turned out pretty cool. I've done these before, doing after-school programming. It's something very simple that you can just do with crayons and paper. This picture doesn't really do it justice. It got a little washed out. The colors are a lot brighter than this, but in that image it looks a little washed out. But let's go ahead and show you how we got to this point. Okay, I just took a decent sized sheet of paper. It's about the size of two regular sheets of paper next to each other. If you don't have a big sheet of paper like that, you can just do this on a small sheet of paper. It doesn't really matter. The more paper you can give yourself on any art project is going to be a little more exciting. Doesn't really matter though. An assortment of crayons. I got some purples, blues. I got an assortment of hot colors, cold colors, and black and white. And then a pack of Post-its. I have my compressed charcoal just in case, but I can do all of this with just the Post-its, the big sheet of paper, and the crayons. Okay, so first thing I do is I just take one piece of those Post-its and I just cut like a nice 1-inch strip, 1 inch wide, and I just cut that strip. And so I've got like a little bit of sticky on one side of that strip and one that's not, because it's a Post-it. This is going to be kind of my little stencil or jig, is that we're going to use it as. And I'm just going to lay it randomly on the paper, kind of keeping one edge towards the center of the paper. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of brush my crayon across that paper to make these nice little, they kind of look like sunbeams or sunshine beams or little, water spray, what do you want to call it, but I'm just going boom, 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 and I'm just kind of going from the Post-it onto my paper, and I'm going to repeat that process. I'm just going to move my paper, my little Post-it, I'm just going to move that in kind of like a clockwise fashion, and just repeat the process, get a different color, swipe, 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 turn it, swipe, swipe, swipe. And by doing that, you kind of end up with this kind of octahedron, octagon looking kind of like circle of color, kind of exploding out from the middle. And the reason I'm using that little piece of Post-it is to just kind of keep me, making sure that I keep an empty space in the middle with enough fun stuff kind of coming off the outside, and that kind of helps me keep my edges true and looking nice. Okay, once I've done a full circle, that's step, basically done with that step. I know the image in the middle, or the angles in the middle, the shape in the middle, it doesn't look very asymmetric. It doesn't look very symmetrical. It looks asymmetrical, but that's okay because we're going to go back over it and kind of true that up. Any gaps that we can see, I might be able to show you with the mouse. Any gaps right here, we're just going to go back through. We're going to lay our paper down right here, do the same swiping action all the way around, try to fill in those gaps. So as you can see, my first round, they're kind of far apart here, and then for my second round, I'm getting the in-betweens. Okay, still using that little Post-it piece of paper as a stencil. Okay, very simple. Just swipe, swipe, swipe it as much as I can. Usually in just one, if you go back and forth, you're going to crumple the Post-it paper. So you just want to go one direction the whole way, all the way around, and fill it up as much as you can. And this is what we're left with at the end of that, and that looks a lot better. You can see, that was the first time through. It's very empty, very open, not a whole lot going on. But as I did that second round to kind of fill everything in, it's looking a lot more colorful, a lot more filled up, and it kind of made the center shape kind of true itself up a little bit more, kind of center itself a little bit more. It looks a little more symmetrical. Okay, and then, what are we going to do about that middle? Well, we do this for a lot of art projects that we do. For me, I always kind of add a spiral. I kind of colored it in with the white crayon, give it a nice white background, and then I just very darkly, like pushing very hard on the black crayon, just start pushing really hard, making a nice fat dark spiral, kind of go along with it. I even tried, using my vine charcoal here to kind of make, or the compressed charcoal to kind of add like an even darker line, but wax and charcoal don't mix very well. So for me, it was just kind of an experiment to see what it would look like. But I tried smearing it too to kind of darken it a little bit more, make it look a little more exciting. I've done that in the past, and that's why I tried it out. But again, it's all trial and error. You don't have to do a spiral. You could just do a circle. You could do a bunch of circles within a circle, maybe like a little ripple effect. You could add triangles, squares, whatever you want to do in the middle is up to you. The idea is that you're trying to make that center shape go from that to something a little more popping out, something a little more solid. You got all these dynamic colored lines coming off the outside, but you want that center to be a little more solid, a little more steady. And of course, like most things, I'm just going to cut it out. And to start that process, I just cut one big circle around the entire thing. So it makes it a little easier for me to get the edges. And for the edges, all I did was I kind of did this kind of scalloped kind of along the outside. If I just did straight lines all the way around the outside, it would look really dull. It looks like it's got a lot more movement, fluidity, a little more action by having those like scalloped edges. And all I did, I just kind of turned the paper a little bit as I'm cutting with my scissors. I'm just kind of cutting like little loops. And I'm not trying to make a perfect cutout around the outside. I kind of let my crayon marks kind of decide which way I'm going to dig deeper with the scissors and which ones I'm going to float on the surface with. But what you want to end up with is that nice scalloped outside look, kind of like a seashell from the outside. And that becomes our finished piece. So basically just crayons, and I forgot to have scissors in here at the beginning, but you should just always have a pair of scissors on hand when you're making art. But just paper, crayons. Using that Post-it as a stencil I think is really clever, really creative way to just kind of make a nice little shape using a very simple jig idea, which is like using that piece of Post-it and then using something solid in the middle to kind of pull everything together and make it all stand out. And then of course cutting it out in that cool framing way, turning it into an orientation that you think looks good. And now I can hang this on the wall, I can give it to a friend, I can give it as a gift, I can do whatever I want with it. So hope you guys enjoyed this lesson, and leave me any comments, and I will see you again soon.